What a way to start the playoffs. LEC and just two fantastic teams going toe-to-toe. A surging Fnatic, strongest team in the second half, up against Vitality, constantly touted as underdogs, but never to be underestimated. I'm Dan Dracos, bringing this series along with Christy Enderfarson and Indiana Frosker Black. I mean, I know you're really right. You're both trying to stay really composed, but we are obviously jumping up and down a lot during that trailer. We're trying to be cool with it right now, but it's exciting. It's hype.
I mean, just listening to that, right? Watching the journeys that these players went through to get here from 2018 to 2019 and the regular season. Both of these teams here have something to prove and want to move on.
And it's about grudge match. You know, the fact that Fnatic snap-grabbed Vitality before Schalke and SK was even over. Like, this is who we want to defeat. This is going to be easy. We talked to Whippo all day on EU4. The confidence is so high for Fnatic here.
And of course, speaking of Whippo, as we enter Champion Select, you guys did vote for Whippo to be featured in our POV stream. You can check that out over at twitch.tv/RiotGames2. And in Game 2, we'll have one of the mid laners, and you guys are going to get a chance to vote later in the day. For now, though, Champion Select now stands ahead of us. Both teams getting ready to get on the Rift. In 9-6, a new patch for us. We've seen some of the Academy teams in NA get a chance. Some of the small regions get a chance to take a crack at it. I want to see LEC's take on patch 9.6.
Yeah, the question is, with champions like Kale being buffed and enabled, Sylas returning to the Rift as well, Urgot maybe making an appearance in the jungler, there are so many new options, I feel, for these teams to have practiced during their off week.
There's also the fact that Sonateric could make a surprise showing here in the playoffs, but I hope that we're not in that world as we enter the first round of
Don't you dare curse the playoffs run already, Frosker. Let's hope not. But Jace banned out, Draven banned out, Sylas going to follow as well. Of course, re-enabled now this week. So far, no surprises. Really, the first one that's interesting is the Nocturne now coming in.
Yeah, and I think for Fnatic, this is something we see done against Vitality a lot, where you have the strong AD carry laner for Attila, the Draven being banned away, and then these lane-dominant champions for Cabochard being removed. But when you have Vitality on the Rift, you always look towards picks like the Jarvan that they love to flex around and wonder, with that not banned away, how high does a team like Fnatic value taking that away?
And now that we've seen it actually hit the ban bench, I do want to put a magnifying glass over the Hecarim pick. That is a Hecarim top that has been flying around the solo queue. Can be flexed into the jungle, but normally in the top lane, and I expect it to be pick or banned every game this series.
And notice here that Lucian is left up and available. Now, more often than not, when that pick is up and Fnatic are blue side, they look to secure that from Reckless. And now with the Braum being hovered on the other side, Vitality could very easily secure themselves a strong bot lane 2v2.
And a lot of pressure then onto Attila and Jack Troll to make the most out of those priority picks if it does end up being a Lucian here. Braum, of course, strong in just about any situation, so securing him early makes a lot of sense. Jarvan, interestingly enough, a flex pick for Vitality, will be the second lock-in.
What's interesting for me is kind of where these teams put their priority. You already mentioned that Fnatic love to grab a lot of firepower early for Reckless, a lot of lane-dominant champions like that Lucian. On the other side for Vitality, they love using the flex pick of the Jarvan between Cabochard and Mowgli. They will sacrifice almost everything to create a strong side of the map, top side. Whippo said it, if you don't crack under Cabo, you can just win the game against Vitality. But if Cabo has his way with you, there's a reason why he's the most dominant top laner in the LEC.
There absolutely is. And now that we see Fnatic pick up this Lissandra for themselves, something that Vitality often do is save counter pick in mid lane for Jizuke. But we see Lissandra, we're reasonably sure that's going mid lane for Nemesis. I think this is a time for Jizuke to pull out a pick like the Zoe to counter it against.
Don't I hear the crowd go, ooh, Vayne throwing down the gauntlet. I was peeking in at the solo queue. Everyone in the LEC is spamming this champion. Reckless has been driving it home, putting in the time, putting in the numbers on Vayne. He's ready.
And now I just want to see what it's going to look like and how Vitality are going to choose to respond to this. Taliyah now coming in. This is something that we've seen so much in Jizuke solo queue, but we've also seen it in the hands of so many different junglers. It can be that flex pick.
That was the thing. Most recently, RNG's Karsa took Taliyah. They did use it as a flex pick between Xiaohu and Karsa in that jungle position, so still a lot of flex options for Vitality. Jarvan as well as Taliyah. Fnatic don't know for sure where anything is going.
And what this Taliyah picks gives Vitality is something they always look for. It's strong side-laning champions. So this Taliyah, if it does go into the mid lane, has such a strong ability to collapse on a Cabochard lane and get them ahead, or later in the game, go into a side lane and really play this 1-3-1 style.
And I feel like second ban phase for Vitality should be about throwing everything at Whippo. I expect a Renekton and possibly an Aatrox ban to come out because they really want to sculpt that matchup and make sure that they get a winning top side of the map.
And my question now is whether or not Fnatic actually ban the Lucian, because we've seen a couple of times now that bot laners like taking the Vayne into the Lucian, not necessarily because you win in lane, because you don't. Lucian basically wins every single 2 versus 2, but Vayne outscales in the 1v1 matchup and also in the team fight. She's able to output a lot more damage, and with Fnatic looking to focus around the bottom side, I'm not even sure if Vitality want to take an aggressive ADC like the Lucian.
And we'll find out, but for now, Frostguard, your prediction reigning true, limiting some of those safe blind picks for Bwipo, trying to make sure that these counter picks can find their mark, rather flex picks can find their mark. That is the Aatrox and the Renekton, both taken off the table.
And then I would hope to see Fnatic ban Zoe here. It's kind of the big other champion that's left open. Or maybe you take a right turn, you go with the Ryze. But with Taliyah being there as the flex option, it might be forced, like you're saying, to double ban ADC. And that's a right turn.
Yeah, I think Fnatic are expecting the Taliyah in the mid lane. But even if Taliyah were to go in jungle, having another AP champion in mid is a lot of AP. That's something we actually see as a problem for teams that run Karthus in the jungle, is when you have too much ability power on your team, tanks on the other side can stack the resistances and give you a better chance in the team fight.
And you can see Attila on your screen talking very heavily with Yamato Cannon behind him, trying to figure out what option he was going to go for. They decide on the safest option, the Lucian Braum. We know how devastating this combo can be in that lane phase, which is why I would love a response of Thresh from Hilly right there. Not only to also have kill pressure if it's a 3v3, those junglers go bottom, but also to keep that Vayne safe.
Now taking his time, though, on the lock-in here. Will it be the Thresh? Will it be the Ornn coming through?
Galio.
Instead, Galio, of course, still a very high priority support pick, but instead it is going to be the Alistar, the last-minute swap over, but this is an old-school kill lane combo. So much CC between these two guys if they can get combo, but going toe-to-toe with another incredibly powerful lane in the Braum Lucian.
And I think Fnatic are realizing that they maybe lack a little bit in terms of hard engage. When you have the Karthus in the jungle, you don't have a lot of those tools, so they have the Lissandra, now they have the Alistar as well to combo up with it, and it's Bwipo going back towards the Gangplank. He played this against Wonder's Ryze in the G2 game, and it went horribly. But Fnatic like this as a safe, flexible option, because remember, you can still flip that around between the Lissandra.
You also have to think that when you have a Gangplank and you have a Karthus, your ability to fight on the map globally is astronomical. If anything ever happens into the bottom lane, both those characters press R, and Reckless is fighting a 2v4.
Yeah, that ultimate is also just insane initiation from long range. If you just slow people down, you can go flying. Wait a second.
Oh, we talked about it. Cabo Shard, the master of creative picks. It is the return. People want to give credit where it's not due. This is the OG top Lucian right here. Gambit Cabo Shard, alive and well, showing up on this stage today to try to find a win for Vitality.
And let's be very clear, this is a miserable matchup for the Gangplank. Lucian can double tap his barrels. That means in the 1v1, Gangplank will literally never be able to proc his barrel for damage. It's so brutal, and the range advantage, you already saw it with the Ryze versus GP matchup, is so tough to deal with.
And we're going to see that matchup as we get into game, of course, once again. POV perfected for Bwipo, see if he gets to do anything in that lane phase. But now I want to shift our attention back to the compositions.
And I do want to kind of quickly take a moment to say the fact that Vitality are revealing this in game 1. Yes, it could just be a niche counter pick. You're talking about the dynamics with the Gangplank, trying to punish that pick that Fnatic have gone to in the regular season and went back into playoffs. But we talked about this best of 5 strategy. Throw everything out that you know about best 1. This is a completely different ballgame, and already off the bat, they show the trump card. We have the Lucian top. We've prepared it. If it doesn't work, dead in the water in game 1, you're already down. If it does work, suddenly the dynamics of this best of 5 change dramatically.
Vitality have revealed a new pick, but they are not changing their style. This is tried and true Vitality from the regular season. Now, this is one of the most lane-dominant champions we have seen Cabo Shard on, probably the most lane-dominant pick we have seen him on this entire split, and now it is up to him and the rest of Vitality to go up and challenge Fnatic.
What a perfect way, once again, to start off the first LEC playoffs, the first best of 5, Fnatic versus Vitality. Reckless is Vayne. Got Bwipo on the Gangplank. So many signature picks now coming through as Cabo puts the Lucian into his hands. Who will come out on top? Number one question in our mind as we kick off this series.
Pretty clear with the 6th man, the crowd behind the Fnatic fans right now, but we do have a moment we can talk about the level 1s. The analyst desk spoke about it. I know there's a great article on LoL Esports right now that talks about it. Fnatic love to use early level 1, possibly delayed invades to split the map.
Ooh, but Hylissang may be cut out by a level 1 from Vitality. Jizuke Uses the threaded volley, lays down a bit of damage, but it's not going to amount to much.
Now, with Cabochard actually revealing himself on the bottom side of the map, I actually didn't think with this comp, Fnatic could walk in to the top side of Vitality's jungle, but with the Lucian revealing, now it gives them time to put down the vision and set up safety for Bwipo.
And that's the thing, they want to make sure that Gangplank will be undisturbed in this matchup, because while he's going to struggle against Lucian, the way that you make that worse is if you dive the Gangplank, if you're constantly ganking the Gangplank. So it's so important that they're able to get this information to make this pick get to level 6 and to work for them.
Yeah, and one of the things we see Fnatic do actually a whole lot is they try to split the map on their weak side. So they put Broxa over towards the side of Bwipo. Now, in this game, they got the vision, but they don't have the champions to actually fully split the map right down the middle lane. So it's just going to be protection, and Broxa won't be able to do much more than lay down wards, maybe go for a Scuttle Crab, because they lose the 2v2 top lane very hard.
Absolutely, but for now, it's still the level 1 Bwipo going to do what he can to pick up the farm. You notice no Kleptomancy in the hands of this Gangplank, grasps the Undying, taking the safe route, but Mowgli not interested in playing it safe, instead going for the aggressive invade. Quintessential Mowgli, gets a buff, goes right in to try to stop any action on the top side.
I really love this pathing from Mowgli, and it's something we see from him so often. He takes a very aggressive jungle champion and looks for those small wins, where he invades into the enemy jungle and takes away some camps. He actually counters the wolves, and because Broxa doesn't know that, he's going to be denied that experience when you are on this scaling champion that wants to get the levels and wants to get to level 6.
Yeah, and in tandem, Jizuke was also moving with the invade from Mowgli. He skirted down onto the red buff. He's now placed a ward. So Vitality have full information and eyes on what Broxa is doing with this Karthus pick to open up windows for where Mowgli wants to attack this map.
And as we look at this, we talked a lot about Vitality's perspective, the 1-3-1, what we're used to, what we know them for. But on the opposite side, talking about Fnatic in this early game, what are they trying to get away with? What do they need to do to come out on top?
I mean, you look at their champions, the likes of the Karthus, the likes of the Vayne, the Gangplank. This is all about scaling. So this is Fnatic, at least in game 1, saying, let's have a 5v5 teamfight-oriented composition. Let's make sure that we can just meet them in the late game and blow them up, because we figure if we wait past 25 minutes, it's free win for us against Vitality.
All right, so now I want to take a chance to look at this path. We're actually going to have to put that on pause right here. Oh, just kidding. We're going to be able to look here at Vitality and the pathing from Mowgli. Notice where he is inside of this jungle here from Broxa. All of this early vision now is giving him the tools to go for the double Scuttle Crab. If we notice this, he went for his red buff into the enemy wolves. Those were counter jungled, forced Broxa out of his jungle, and then got both crabs. Now this gives him so much time to go back to his own side of the jungle and just dominate.
Absolutely does, Ender. Now, as we look back at the map, we check in on the rest of the status of the map. You can see how that might start to influence things as we move later into the game. Of course, level 6 for the Karthus, as you mentioned, incredibly crucial.
It basically means, and you can see this reflected in Vitality's side lanes, that both Cabochard and Attila and Jacktroll can be super far forward because that safety has been set up. So, Fnatic, the plan existed.
Ooh,
Hold on, sorry.
Don't exactly expect a level 3 Karthus gank. Red buff, he's going to have to auto-attack at some point, but just trying to relieve a bit of pressure from Bwipo. Cabochard is unconcerned. He wants the 2v1 if they're willing to commit to it.
And I love that use of phrase, alleviate pressure, because that's what Fnatic want to do. They want to survive the lane phase, but because Mowgli got double scuttle control, things are starting to crack and bleed. And so now, where does Mowgli finally punch that hole through Fnatic's defense?
That's the question here, because right now, Mowgli is still just farming. He's building up a massive CS and gold advantage. He just hasn't gone back to base just yet. So he's sitting on some money. Once he goes back to base, then he can start to look to attack. But I think it relies on Jizuke. When Jizuke hits level 6, they are going to look for an ultimate play around the top side of the map to completely shut down Bwipo.
For now, Broxy doing what he can to keep up, and the bot lane still relatively even. Reckless generally you kind of expect to be on the back foot in this lane, just given the raw power of Braum in a lot of these melee matchups. Bazooka potentially in trouble in the mid lane. Karthus now coming in, a lot of immediate CC knocked back there into the unraveled earth, but he's now running. Maybe one more is going to land. Jizuke running for his life. He's going to take some footwork. Where's the skill going to go? Not going to connect. Just barely living.
And the flash from Jizuke, he held on to it from so long, knowing exactly how much damage could come through. Got both flashes, now we see bot.
Vayne, Alistar now looking for a kill. Jacktroll going to try to back off, has the Unbreakable. One more, he's going to proc the stun. Reckless now going to be in trouble as they continue to extend this trade. The longer the fight goes, the more damage Braum is going to get in, but Hylissang there to body block and immediately action across multiple lanes.
Yeah, Reckless and Hylissang going in there looking for the fight because they saw the mana bars on both Attila and Jacktroll were so low. They ended up getting the worst of the trade overall, but knew they could not fall down there, and All the summoner spells are retained except the additional ones, the Ignite and the Heal from both supports.
But we are starting to get a bit more life from Fnatic in this early game, not just in their individual lanes, but in Broxah getting control of the Scuttle Crab. Now, because they forced Jizuke's flash as well as an early TP, it meant that he wasn't there for mid priority, which means on second rotation of Scuttle spawn, Broxah is actually able to take it because Nemesis was on his wing.
And you have to think that one step further too, like when does Broxah actually gank mid lane? It's right before the Scuttle Crab does spawn, so it forces a reset from Jizuke. So while Vitality have the winning top side of the map, like they slam this, right? Well, they don't actually get to use it because Jizuke was forced back to base. Now it's nice to see Mowgli making a response on the other side of the map.
And a very bold call to go in for the solo Infernal Drake on Jarvan, but Jizuke now moving down, of course, can get spotted out here by this ward. Will make it a little bit awkward. Gonna make it a bit more difficult for Contribute. Now to play acting, he just has to kill the ward and walk away. Wait for that one to die at least before he contributes. The team doesn't know that this is happening, but the ping's now coming out. They know that they have nothing on that side of the map, so they will just have to give this one up to Mowgli, and he'll just barely survive that exchange.
And look at Vitality, the map control they have at the moment. They get the Infernal Dragon on the bottom side while Cabochard invades and puts down Vision. That's going to allow him to play even more aggressive in this lane. But you can see Bwipo, even in losing matchups, still continues to play up. And that's why I was thinking maybe Cabochard can try to exploit this tendency from Bwipo to try and go a little more aggressive in matchups where he really shouldn't.
And when we talked about this matchup from the perspective of Vitality, we said this is all about the top lane. Cabo's the guy that they've been playing through for most of the split. This is what led them to the most success. But is he building a big enough advantage right now in what was a counterpick matchup?
I think it's also about kind of redefining what it means for a Vitality's playstyle. People expect them to still be this very explosive, kill-heavy, fight-heavy team, and while that is true for them kind of in that mid and that late game, early on, it's about small advantages.
Exactly, and it comes down from Mowgli and Cabochard. Mowgli through his counter-jungling, trying to build up CS leads, and Cabochard getting strong matchups so he can build up in these small trades. You get the CS, you get chunks down onto the enemy tower, and you build up small but sure leads until eventually you hope to reach a critical mass.
Cabochard now just backing off, using the ultimate to disengage. Broxah doesn't want to push any further. Mowgli on the way up, though.
As is Nemesis.
Bwipo, though, still with the flash available. A bit of a difficult spot for them to find themselves in. Now both sides do look like they are going to back off. Mowgli, of course, knowledge of the bush is unwarded. Can continue down. Could look to extend the play, but Bwipo now waiting in the bush. This is a difficult spot for him to be in. Has to be careful. Just a bit of damage laid down by Cabochard. Mowgli not going to push for anything else.
That was very aggressive from Bwipo. I think that there was concern from Fnatic members that they didn't have perfect information about where Jizuke is, and now that he has access to his wall, the fact that even though Nemesis was starting to cheat up, that Taliyah could be there at any time, and it wasn't worth the risk with Broxah so close to level 6.
And while Fnatic maybe didn't know exactly where Jizuke was, I think Vitality are running into some problems with Jizuke, because I constantly see Nemesis with the priority in this middle lane, which is stopping Jizuke from making plays. He's gone for a couple of resets when Mowgli was on the top side, but now finally he is making the move, and with Mowgli, Bwipo really needs to get this base off.
Has to be careful. Getting closer and closer to that point, but the stopwatch still not available. Walling him in. He's not going to be able to escape this one. He's going to try to flash to safety, but the auto connects. Mowgli getting that first blood.
I mean, great play from Vitality, but I really don't know about that flash, Bobo. He looked dead to rights. Even with Broxah sort of waiting behind, you can see how much scaling Fnatic drafted themselves in and how hard that is making it to play around this top side. Vitality saw the crack and broke it.
And now with Vitality in a good position, they have the lead, they have the Infernal Drake in a bigger advantage on top side. Some of that now snowballing into the pockets of Mowgli as he continues the more tanky build for Jarvan. They're in control to dictate the pace of the game, and this is kind of their element. This is what we expect from them when they pick these strong lanes, especially on the top side.
And now you're looking at the refresh of the cooldown from Taliyah wall and about Jizuke and Mowgli moving together to set up plays like this across the rest of the map.
You absolutely are, and I think that it is worth noticing now. Vitality, one of the common criticisms for them throughout the whole split was their bottom lane, and maybe dying 2v2 in these matchups, falling behind while the rest of their team was trying to make plays up topside. But it's worth pointing out that Attila is actually leading in CS up against Reckless. Not only are they holding their own, but they're actually laning very, very well here to make sure that Vitality have leads in every single lane.
And the thing that I like is that he's not going for the immediate tier. The God is here to try to get those stacks. He goes for the Sheen so he can contest, so he can match the Vayne in terms of damage output, making use of that last pick that they saved.
And of course, it's less important now that you get the earliest tier possible because there's no longer double tier on Ezreal. So you don't need to stack that up as soon as possible so you can begin stacking your second one. So he's not punished as you would be before for itemizing first into Sheen.
Yeah, and we've seen some AD carry Ezreal sort of go back to the physical damage as Cabo just nukes it.
Yeah, trying to extend that trade, uses the Cutlass for the slow, a few more autos, wants to get forward. Oh, buying a bit more time, but playing that one so well!
No, no, no!
Oh, no! Oh man, baited, outsmarted, so well played.
It was such a bait, but here comes Mowgli, here comes Jackdaw, and the rest of Vitality.
Flashing forward, Mowgli's just gonna move in. He should just be able to take this one now. Bwippo's still alive!
Wait, what?
Bwippo!
Jackdaw?
I'm sorry.
What?
I'm sorry.
No way!
I'm sorry.
No way!
You wanted someone to replace Soaz Fnatic. I think you found it. Why will this man not die? Disaster strikes for Vitality. Bwippo is a monster.
You gotta be kidding me!
I mean, okay, yeah, that was well played from Bwippo, but that was also a massive fumble from Vitality. Huge miscommunication. I don't know what happened. So if Soaz just makes people, disconnect from their headsets, Bwippo's the same guy.
I mean, hopefully we'll get to check that one out again, but Mowgli was running under tower and Jackdaw just sort of pieced out. I was like, I guess you got it, buddy. I mean, we see this initial trade off the bat, and notice it was 10 seconds after minute 10. That meant the stopwatch unlocked here for Bwippo. So while Cabochard wins a 1v1 with the tower and with the global pressure of a Karthus, it just does not work. But the real sort of head scratcher comes with Mowgli and Jackdaw. Watch this. Mowgli goes under tower. Jackdaw's like, yeah, I'll heal you, and then I'll leave.
Now they're going to continue to extend the play, though. They've decided they want a little bit more. Bwippo, no stopwatch left this time. Vitality are fully committed for a little bit of revenge. They will get it that time. Folks, third time is the charm. First two didn't work out. Bwippo says, yeah, okay, I guess. Does go down in the end on that one. So Vitality, while it was a bit unfortunate series of play from their perspective, they do manage to grab the kill on the repeat.
And of course, at this point, Bwippo was saying, I can go down. I'm losing a lot here. I don't have my TP. I'm going to have to walk all the way back to the lane. I lose the plates. I lose the experience. I lose the gold. But I still have the utility anytime my ultimate is up.
But Fnatic, now seeing that the top side is in a dire position, have decided to commit to the bottom side, willing to give Bwippo up, willing to have him go even further behind to try to get something on the bottom side. But Broxton now has to flash, overstaying his welcome.
This is actually really, really good here from Vitality because the bottom lane's able to stay safe, and with the threat of the Weaver's Wall coming in from Jizuke, Fnatic can't overextend for the dive. While all of that is happening, Mowgli goes for this Herald uncontested, and now I'd love to see him run top lane, place it, and get the full 5 plates before 14 minutes.
I mean, the reality is that this map has collapsed.
Ooh, bit of miscommunication there. Jackdaw tries to extend the play with the ultimate, but now it looks like Jackdaw could go down here. Miscommunication now causing them. Jackdaw absolutely going to die. They may just fall up immediately. They turn their attention. They use Lissandra ult on the 80 carry, and they make it all too easy. Double dropping for Reckless on the bottom side.
But Fnatic had to force that play. They recognized that the top side of the map completely owned by Vitality. If it didn't work there, they were going to fall further and further behind. So great read on the situation to say, no, force this, give everything to Reckless.
At the same time, it's a huge fumble from Attila and Jackdaw, who, yes, took a good trade in the 2 versus 2, but you have to know Broxa and Nemesis were on the Dragon. They overextended, and that brings us back to sort of the criticisms that we have seen from this 2v2 in the past.
Definitely a question mark moving forward into the game. Cannot afford to not be on the same page in those all-in situations. But the good news is the Herald now used, grabs another 2 plates. Cabo, while he has no mana, remains uncontested on this top side. That's going to be 10 plates now going over if they go for this one, but they're going to opt out. Still massive gold over to Vitality.
I mean, just look at the pressure they have on the top side. There's a line of red wards just seeing every single move that Fnatic make, and this is especially important because Hylissang was actually walking up towards the top side, and that maybe Fnatic were going to punish them if Cabochard overstayed, but they saw the members of Fnatic. Vitality said, we don't need this extra plate, we can back up and stay safe.
And this is kind of the head scratcher for me. As you can see, Jackdaw clearly has the kill in his sights, but they don't respect Hylissang coming in. Attila uncertain if they want to fully commit. And once these major cooldowns have already been built, they don't have any disengage tools left, and there's 4 members of Fnatic here.
I mean, just why are you going for this play? At best, you chunk out Reckless, and then it's harder for Fnatic to dive you if they wanted to bring multiple members down. But Mowgli was on the Herald, Cabochard was top lane, and Jizuke was not close enough to be able to respond.
It's the fact that all you needed to do was absorb the pressure from Fnatic, delay them. Worst case scenario, they get a couple of hits on the tower, but also not the kills in their back pocket when the top side of your map is winning so hard.
Which, to be clear, Attila and Jackdaw, for the first 13 minutes of the game, played absolutely perfectly. They did what they needed to do. They didn't take these over-aggressive trades, and they were winning in CS, but you can see the tides are now turning, and giving Reckless 2 kills on this Vayne that we know spiked so hard on 2 items is going to play so much into Fnatic and the scaling game they're going for.
Absolutely is. A terrifying position to be in, of course, as well, as Broxton continues to scale up, getting closer and closer to level 11 and double flat penetration itemization. But on the other side, as you mentioned, top lane, such a hugely strong point right now for the side of Vitality. You see the Kindle Gem Black Cleaver is on the way. Mowgli, though, does now have to back off here, so overall, despite what looks like Vitality kind of dictating the pace for most of this game, Fnatic have been punishing left and right and keeping it still a pretty close game, about a 1K difference between them.
I mean, they're finding their windows where they can get in these quick jabs, but it's still Vitality that have been eating up most of this map, and topside's about to go down. The fact is that with the Bork completed and the Kendall Gem on the way, there's so much safety for Cabochard having the CDR as well as the extra health, and infinite sustain to just sit up into this tower. Whippo was never going to move him from that point.
And while Vitality have a lot of advantages right now, specifically around Cabochard, I think we have to talk about how this team actually looks to play games, because this composition and the style Vitality have had all split long is not about, you know, getting to 25 minutes, having a big team fight around the Baron buff, and then winning. Rather, it is about setting up Cabochard to be a strong split pusher, to dominate in the side lane and continually build up an advantage more and more and more until you reach a point on this Lucian where you can just take over a side lane entirely and no one can match.
But what's really interesting about Fnatic's composition is how it can actually play around a 1-3-1. You know, let's say Vitality get to that point where they've unlocked Cabo, he's in his dueling position, he's a very strong Lucian. It almost doesn't matter who goes against him because you have a Vayne. It's not just about the fact that you have global pressure with a Gangplank ultimate as well as a Karthus ultimate, but also the ability for Reckless to play into a side lane.
Also, it's Reckless with a teleport as well, so we absolutely can match that 1v1 and look for that matchup.
Now trying to punish the Gangplank ult does come out. They're looking for the initiation. Nemesis is going to commit using the snare first. Where's the ultimate going to go? Cleo Wall now coming in. Fnatic find themselves caught in the middle of the play here. Zuke now knocked out, but Prox has a lot of damage if they can continue to lock him down. Mowgli now on the retreat, turning back for Hylissang. Hylissang now in trouble, knocked back under the tower. Will they continue the play? No, Vitality gets the better. Mowgli wants to re-engage. Beautiful ultimate from Attila. Jackdaw ready to follow up. Now continuing forward. Cabochard off to the side. Here comes the calling, and Fnatic are going to get ripped to pieces if Cabo can get the autos out, but now he's in trouble. He's in the middle of a death Karthus, and here comes the ultimate. How many kills will Prox get? That's one going through. Cabo just barely living. What a bloody fight.
Vitality got the first kill, but they couldn't continue the fight. They have no ability to team fight with this composition. Fnatic were able to stall out, kite back, stay alive for long enough. They were able to turn the fight completely around and try to get this mid tower.
It was also the fact that Reckless was practically untouched for the longest time, sitting on full health. The Vayne eventually just walked through them.
Now sitting at 4-0, should be able to go back to base and pick up the Ginsu's Rage Blade. That means true damage coming in on every other auto attack for this champion.
And this Alienware replay just shows us how intense this game is, how many small mechanical decisions come through.
And initially, I actually had concerns for Fnatic coming into this. They were trying so hard to force, but Hilly just cannot get in range to hit the combo there. He burned his flash last time until he eventually turns and finds Jizuke, and I'm like, oh no, Fnatic, you've overreached, you've extended everything that you wanted.
But now think, where does the damage come from Vitality? Mowgli looks for the initiation, but as soon as he has to flash out of the fight, there's just not enough health bars on the side of Vitality. They have two marksmen, they have a Talia as well. They need a frontline if they want to look for this type of fight. And unfortunately, they don't have that ability, so the fact that they got baited into this 5 versus 5 is going to actually set them behind.
Now Fnatic turn their attention to the Ocean Drake. We'll see if Jizuke can do anything to contest it. No, just throws down the wall. Is going to continue to extend the play, though. Looks like they may try to catch someone out. TP coming in from behind, though. Jizuke getting knocked back over the wall. Has to be careful. No flash after the last fight. Whippo is right behind him. It is a split fight, but attention is now shifted towards Reckless. He does get knocked up. Beautiful ulti coming in from Jackdaw. Reckless should drop here. Mowgli does grab the kill, but it is a 1-for-1 in the end. Mid laner for AD carry.
Big shutdown there going on towards Mowgli, and they're the ones with control over this middle lane. They actually have a lot of minions here. If they wanted to, they could try to get some damage down on this tower or just look to steal camps away from Fnatic.
And now as the game reaches what is a very breakneck pace, we will see the Gangplank ult try to slow it down a bit for us, try to stop the Vitality from pushing any further. Now we are letting fans vote on who we follow on our POV stream next game, twitch.tv/RiotGames2. And we're going to be in the mid lane. Who do you want to see? You can spam now in chat Nemesis or Jizuke, depending on whose perspective you want to see as we move into the Baron setup phase currently. And it's hard to say, because on the one hand you have a key initiator, on the other hand you have someone with a wall that can be anywhere on the map. Hard to know for certain.
I think Jizuke is going to be pretty important for Vitality if they want to make it happen. You can see how he uses the wall here to funnel off the rest of Fnatic. And while he gets butted out, has no flash, Reckless was left alone. Everyone on Fnatic's trying to dive on towards Jizuke. So ultimately, it ends up being the shutdown and the worth trade on the side of Vitality after Jackdaw landed a pretty nice ultimate to CC Reckless.
And I know you said this before, Andrew, that Vitality typically don't look for a style where it's one big team fight in front of a Baron, but the Baron is live, and Reckless doesn't have flash. So for the next let's say a couple of minutes until that flash comes back up, Fnatic will want to be avoiding a lot of fights unless they're just easy picks, waiting for that Vayne's flash, because Jarvan just lands on Reckless, there's nothing he can do, he's just dead.
Yeah, and you asked the question, like, what's better, a team fight comp or a split push comp? And honestly, we've seen so much team fight comps, and I think it's because of the Baron buff. What it sort of acts as is just a giant, center of gravity that pulls everyone in towards it. The second Fnatic send 5 members towards it, Vitality have to respond to 5 members. That means Cabochard cannot be in a side lane, and eventually it's going to come down to a team fight around this Baron rather than Cabochard knocking on towers and getting an eventual inhibitor, which is what they want.
Now the engage is coming through. Jizuke once again caught out. They're trying to find the disengagement. Jizuke just gets absolutely blown up. Nemesis is next though. Reckless off to the side. Cabo ready to find the fight if he can. It's a split fight overall. Cabo over the wall. A difficult position to be in, but now the ultimate coming in for Broxa. Jack Troll running forward, knowing he's dead anyway, hoping to get concussive blows off. But with another member down, the fight now in favor of Fnatic. 4v3. Both sides going to disengage.
But they've got so much zone control with Bwipo on this gangplank that they are able to just stay on the inside track towards the mid lane tower and get all of the control that they want between mid and that red side Vitality jungle. Place down all the wards, sweep everything out, and again, that big Baron fight, that's about to come.
And it's always going to keep Vitality guessing, because especially when key members like Jizuke do not have the flash, he cannot DPS in these fights. That's 3 times in a row he's been caught out and unable to make a move.
And we had some questions, Hilly was flipping through all these different supports. Am I going to go for the Galio? Am I going to go for the Thresh, the Alistar? One of the signature things that Alistar has with someone like a Lissandre is the snap CC and engagement. Galio takes a wind-up time with the taunt. If you find anyone, instantly Hilly can be on top of them.
Yeah, there's just no counterplay to Jizuke other than don't be in that position. You have to be much further back within the team fight. And once again, with Broxa using the ultimate to finish off members, you can see Vitality, they want to fight with the way they're positioning, but they don't know how to actually approach the 5 versus 5.
And as we move later in the game, it does feel like Fnatic is getting more and more control, and has to be crucial in this game one for Fnatic to come out swinging, come out with a win. Because a lot of people were critical when they snap-picked Vitality, when they could have picked SK, but they didn't wait. They immediately locked in Vitality. They said, we know this team. We do not think that this team can secure a lead as we move into the late game, and this is their opportunity now to prove it here in game 1.
And it just kind of goes back to everything that Bwipo said when we had that sit-down conversation with him, Dracos. If you wait out Vitality 30 minutes, it's free win. He said, I've got the 80 carry Reckless. 80 carry Reckless is also on Vayne of all picks, and it looks like Bwipo's call is coming to fruition.
And now, have to start wondering what the next big explosive fight is going to be, because we've also seen Vitality be a team that managed to pull victory out of the jaws of defeat so often, find these creative ways to find wins, find these crucial picks or fights that can go in their favor, but it only gets harder from here because, once again, the impact of that Karthus in these fights makes them so much harder to play. Jizuke, not on a hyper-mobile champion. Once his flash is gone, he is very vulnerable.
Yet he does have his flash back once again, so it becomes a little bit easier for him to approach these fights. You can see he's actually using the teleport to get back in towards this middle lane, and this plays into the idea that Fnatic just want to suck Vitality into the 5 versus 5 by grouping up and looking for picks, especially around an Ocean Drake that's spawning, or the ever-present Baron Nashor. Vitality are constantly playing this game where they want to go in.
We're trying to find the engage. Jack Troll here for the follow-up. They have to be careful though. Unbreakable already used. Attila off to the side. Nemesis looking for the re-engage. They're now backing off. Bwipo has used the ultimate. Ultimate now coming in for Karthus. That's going to be 2 quick kills. Hylissang going to keep the ball rolling. Double dropping for Broxa. They want one more. Hylissang flashing forward. Looking for that auto. Will not be able to grab it, but the ultimate is there from Nemesis. The engage is clean. It will keep the fight going. A beautiful turn from Fnatic.
And Fnatic can run straight towards the Baron. Now Mowgli's going to be dead for another 20 seconds. Brock's actually going to be spending some time starting up this Ocean Drake. Doesn't seem like they want to push the envelope too much, but Hylissang is on the way. Do they just want to take both at the same time?
They have so much time, Ender, and so much confidence that they are unconcerned. Remember, that is a 2-item Vayne. Every 2 hits is the true damage proccing on this Baron. It is just going to shred right through.
And it's the fact that Bwipo has already kind of herded the rest of Vitality like cats towards the complete opposite side. They know that they've got a massive death timer on Mowgli, and Bwipo had full eyes of where everyone else for Vitality was.
Yeah, Bwipo, by the way, who got counterpicked miserably, got hard camped by Mowgli and Jizuke, and is still keeping relevant inside of this game. It is now him with pressure in the side lane. Cabochard really struggling to get anything done anymore.
And Jizuke's face said it all in that replay as we take another look at this one. At this point, the flash is just about to come back up for Reckless, so Fnatic are saying, let's go. We we can force this fight. We can capitalize on this.
And this is a point in the game where Vitality need to better understand how their composition can actually pull off a win, because I do not think that a 5 versus 5 is ever winnable for them in this game. They need Cabochard in a side lane. They need the Talia and the Lucian trying to take down towers, but they haven't even gotten the bot lane outer yet.
But frankly, Andrew, this is why I kind of think this is like 4D chess from Fnatic. Because it's Karthus, Gangplank, and Vayne, the lane assignments just aren't there for Vitality. I actually think this is almost an unwinnable game at this point, because who are you going to send out in those side lanes that Fnatic can't deal with?
And who are you going to send when Broxa is getting closer and closer to level 16, has double flat pen items, a 10-stack Dark Seal, and a Rabadon's Death Cap? Who has enough of a health pool to survive that? It's Mowgli. Mowgli can't split push, he doesn't have any damage.
I feel like every single player on the side of Fnatic played the same, like they had the same story in this game where it's like, you know, get bullied around early, Bwipo lost lane, Brox was getting invaded by Mowgli, but eventually just do way more damage than you. And with the scaling of literally every single champion on Fnatic's side, it becomes so easy for them to look for the plays and look to close it out.
See a lot of damage getting put down onto Nemesis, but the Gangplank ult just forcing Jizuke even further back as this tower is now set to fall. Bwipo trying to retreat on the bottom side. It's going to take a lot of resources if they want to extend this one. Concussive Blow is not going to be cleansed away by the orange, however, but no follow-up here. Solo walking face first from the jungle. Has to be careful, but not concerned. Knows it's just Hylissang. Hylissang maybe overstaying is welcome. Shock down Procky is going to get knocked back. Beautiful use of the Blast Cone. That's going to be a free pick. Will Nemesis try to extend? Will just back off, so that is a small consolation prize to the side of Vitality.
I don't know about that one, Hylissang. That seemed pretty troll to me. He's literally just running into the Ezreal. I mean, he's buying space. He got his team a tower on the top side.
You know, he's pretty far ahead. I think he thought, like, I have the fear factor on my side, because if anyone else is here, they die instantly.
No,
but,
he was like, I've got the Blast Cone on my side, except surprise, you're against Talia, who is now returned on 9.6 with the changes to Dematerializer that allow her to clear waves and compete with wave control.
And kill Alistairs who are trying to Blast Cone out.
That's the important part.
It was a nice flick from Jizuke to say, come back.
Yeah, he did time it very well, and honestly, it's hard to get away from an Ezreal with the red buff, but Hylissang probably just needs to pop the ultimate a little bit sooner.
Give me this.
And, but wait, where am I going?
That's the problem when people don't build attack speed Alistair. Your attack speed or attack animation is too slow, and you can't Blast Cone out to safety.
I think there were a lot of members of Fnatic really close to him as well, and he was probably calling, oh, I can get out no problem, I have Blast Cone. And they're like, okay, we'll farm Raptors, we'll push top lane, get the tower, and he got left out to dry.
Or they're like, Hylissang, you did it again. Can't just let you get out of this one. And he's not afraid, though. Despite that, remains completely unconcerned, has the Hex Flash available, has the ultimate available once again, and you can tell that Fnatic dominating in every lane, pushing every lane out at this stage, and ready to just kind of threatening Vitality, saying, come at us, try to start a fight, see what happens.
I mean, Vitality are looking for like the miracle throw from Fnatic right here. Maybe they just find someone out of position, snap, blow them up. Or at this point, you're trying to stall out the game long enough while everyone in comms is like, okay, what happens for game number 2?
Yeah, I mean, we all remember Fnatic versus G2, right? They had an early game advantage, and they overstepped their boundaries. They dove an inhibitor tower, and that gave G2 the opportunity to sort of claw their way back into the game. And while I think Fnatic had time to sort of learn and recoup from that match, Vitality definitely need that type of thing to happen again.
The unfortunate thing is that they don't have a lot of options on this composition for any sort of late game damage, especially because double tier Ezreal doesn't exist anymore. You can see his build right now, Muramana, Iceborne, this is kind of your core, and then from here, pros are kind of split. Either you go Bork, hold it,
or you go in on Hylissang as it is now the turn. You see the ultimate coming in for the Gangplank as well. Hylissang now sends Nemesis is off to the side, ready to lock down Attila. Attila immediately flashes out. Mowgli now on the retreat. Eyes on Broxa. Is the Requiem going to come down? Mowgli incredibly low, but I don't know if he's low enough. Broxa opts not to pull the trigger yet.
And Cabochard was in bottom lane that entire time. They didn't have the damage, the extra damage coming from him. Still a decent fight from them, but they lost both flashes on their bottom laners. Fnatic didn't lose too many summoners.
This is going to be a tough spot to be in. Reckless now moving in.
The
rest of Fnatic ready for the collapse. Got 2 champions with dashes. They're going to have to commit something to find a kill here. Nemesis would have to flash, but there's a Blast Cone as well, so it will be the disengage.
Just take the Infernal, Fnatic. It's free.
And Triple Ocean, too. Where in that situation where Mowgli maybe gets a little bit of damage down, maybe gets 1 or 2 cooldowns, Fnatic are just full health again next time you want to fight.
Okay, but back to Ezreal right now. So he's in 2 places. Your core is Iceborne and Muramana, and then you either have to choose. You either go the Hextech Gunblade or you go for your Blade of the Ruined King. I like the emphasis on kind of the AP burst by taking Sorcerer Shoes, and personally, I feel that Hextech feels a lot better because you still kind of have that assassination potential.
Yeah, there's also some fun things with a Hextech as well, where you get extra healing from both your W and your E. Those are the magic damage spells that typically you don't don't get out of the Blade of the Ruined King. But this is the traditional Ezreal build that was sort of the stock
Blue
standard.
Ezreal.
It was the Blue Ezreal standard up until, you know, about a year ago when that double tier build was first introduced. So it's what Attila is comfortable with and what he's going to be hoping he can try to contest Fnatic with.
And it means you have so much kite potential as well
True.
as the ability to fight front to back. And that's what we saw kind of in the last team fight from Vitality, that between the Ezreal and the Taliyah, they're still able to put down great chip damage. But the issue is that there's just so much hard engage from Fnatic's composition. So as long as Vitality can survive that, maybe they whittle their way, weasel back into this game. But if that hard engage ever finds them, they're done.
Yeah, flashes are absolutely important. Jizuke actually using the Unsealed Spellbook to switch over to Cleanse as well to keep himself safe against the initiation of Nemesis. He did just finish the Rabadon's Death Cap as well. It's probably the best spike you can look for, but Hillsang on the flank.
Flank now looking for the fight, looking for the engage. Is going to use Righteous Glory now, leaping forward, wants to knock Attila right back into the team, and the follow-up is there. Immediately, Reckless is just going to tear through them. The double for the Vayne. Reckless wants to keep it going, has to be careful. Flashes forward, unconcerned. Out comes the Requiem. Bye-bye to Jizuke.
Oh!
That's another one dropped. Mowgli running for his life now as well. Ulti still connects as well. The animation was already finished. Mowgli now set to fall. Another kill dropping for Fnatic.
And the hard engage found Vitality, which means it's not only going to be the Baron, but surely the game at this point. Fnatic have everything, including coming up to a 10k gold lead.
Yeah, Fnatic, they're duoing the Baron while the other three members, because everyone stayed alive on their side, are still going to be pushing up. Cabochard couldn't TP into that fight. He was recalling in bottom lane when Fnatic found their mark, and 2 inhibitors will surely fall.
And Hillsang has been fishing for that flank for at least 5 minutes now. He finally finds it. And the game is just now set to end. 2 inhibitors dropping. They can't look to turn the fight onto Nemesis, but the rest of Fnatic now set up to collapse. Hillsang ready for one more headbutt pulverize. But instead, they set their sights on the inhibitor and they retreat. With 2 down, though, without a composition that does well in these fights, you have to feel like Vitality are just planning for game 2.
Or gonna TP in and try if this is the last ditch effort. They must make a play like this, but it's a Taliyah on the flank and she's
Wall
gonna set up
coming
the wall.
Oh no.
Hillsang's here.
Oh no.
Bye-bye. Oh, wait a second.
Jizuke, I believe, has finished the death cap now. That is one terrifying Taliyah. We have hit the late game status, but no one else is here. He's trying desperately to run. Does manage to get a bit of damage down, but only a mid laner killed. Huge commit, but honestly, really no other options were left.
Yeah, exactly. Hero attempt from Jizuke right there. Not only that, but just puts, I think it was Nemesis, into the ground.
Yeah, just instantly blew him up. You can see the flank from Hillsang. Watch how he holds onto his spells. It's a Q flash for the knock-up onto Attila, so he can headbutt him into the face of Reckless. Reckless, like, sneezes on him. The Ezreal instantly dies, and then Broxa participates in this fight with the 1 button.
And this is something that we do need to talk about, though, because Fnatic have been kind of stuck in this area where they're just finding the big fights, and when they do find them, they win. It still is relatively difficult to siege with how short range they have if Nemesis isn't there. They need that Lissandra to approach towers and to threaten to kick down. So the Baron was very important for this composition to get to this point on the map where it's just the Nexus towers and bot towers standing for Vitality.
And they were facing that lull, but now that they've broken the base, they have 2 inhibitors down. It becomes a cakewalk here for Fnatic. They're grouping up with 4 members in the bottom lane while Bwipo escorts the wave in mid, keeping the Baron buff on top of it. So it takes 4 members of Vitality to even try to clear this one away. And as this wave crashes in, Fnatic can look for the tower or maybe just the hard engage.
Ulti comes down for the gangplank, just slow and steady is the name of the game. Hillsang stepping forward, threatening. Everyone knows that headbutt pulverize hits, you die. That is the name of the game right now. One final desperate team fight is all that's left for Vitality. Maybe, just maybe they can extend the game a little bit longer. But it is definitely in Fnatic in absolute control. With the cannon minions here, you have to feel like it is just a matter of time. Vitality needs to start a fight or just end the game on the side of Fnatic. Super's pushing in on the top side as well. It doesn't feel like there's a lot of avenues left.
Hillsang bringing the minions up towards the tower. Fnatic are saying, come to us or your base will be destroyed. They hit the tower once, it falls. Vitality have nothing left to save them.
Taking their time, Jizuke off to the side, looking for the wall, looking to split up the team at least a little bit, hoping to find that perfect angle, hoping to split up the team. Reckless off on his lonesome, off to the side. They're now kicking the fight off. Reckless is not in the fight. That could be an issue stepping forward. Cabo leaping into Broxa. Broxa is so incredibly low, but does have the ultimate available. If he gets killed, he will still be able to full channel the ult, but Fnatic, they are simply too far ahead in this game. They set their sights on the Nexus, and they're going to take game 1.
Fnatic called the bluff of Vitality. They said, sure, you can play the strong top side of the map. Sure, you can play the strong early game, but if there's something we know how to play, it is the team fight phase. It is the scaling picks on their side. They did not allow Vitality to get a large enough lead, and they're able to make it look easy once Baron rolled around.
I mean, the first 3 picks said it all. Karthus, Lissandra, and Vayne. These champions had a very clear setup. The zone control for the Vayne, it was going to be about Reckless. It was going to be sitting back and kind of waiting out these big late-game scaling options.
And a departure from what we saw a lot in the second half of the season from Fnatic, where they built these massive leads in the earliest portions of the game, where it was clever jungle pathing that led to massive lane leads that extended, these huge advantages, and now they were willing to take a backseat. They had these lanes that were in difficult positions, but when push came to shove, they just out-executed in the mid to late game.
Yeah, I mean, we know that being able to show multiple styles gives you such an edge when it comes to playoffs, when you have to play these best of 5s, and you have to ask the questions, is this the right choice for the team we are facing? Fnatic absolutely looked like they had the right read on this game, whereas Vitality, with the 1-3-1 comp, the Lucian, did not seem like they knew what was going on at all.
And the terrifying thing is Vitality have shown kind of 2 aces that they had. The Taliyah pick coming back, a signature for Jizuke, and then as well as the Lucian to try to figure out what was going to happen with that GP. Now that it's failed, where does the option come from in the draft phase? Do Vitality have anything else left?
And momentum in best of 5s is always so important. You want to be that team that's winning the game, because then there's no pressure on you to change. Fnatic could try to get the same exact thing in the next draft, and they would be incredibly happy.
Fnatic don't have to change anything. That's the nature of winning game 1, especially in these types of mind games. They didn't try to play for the lane phase, they didn't even really get their early invade. It was just a neutral map. They managed to survive the lane phase and won anyway. Fnatic just run it back the same way until they force you to change.
Yeah, Fnatic are in a great spot, and for Vitality, the question becomes, yes, we revealed some picks, but more importantly, I think it's that they revealed that they're still playing the style that was working for them for a long time, but towards the second half of the split, no longer was. And that's going to be a real issue for them if they can't execute on the strong solo lane picks to get away.
And that brings us back to something Deficio said on the desk, which he says, hey, I think this is a Fnatic win, but if Vitality are going to win, how's it going to happen? It's a single style. It's unique picks that Fnatic aren't ready for. Single style, unique picks, bad news. The third portion of that, Fnatic were ready for them. Fnatic did not, drop at the sight of new picks that we've seen like Taliyah and the Lucian in the top lane, and it leaves you wondering what else is left in the tank for Vitality. That's the question on our minds, because the reigning champions are looking to make a statement here in round 1. We'll see if they can take us to match point when we return.